This is Dr. John Weistrick of the Plant and Environmental Sciences Department here at Clemson University. Would you like to tell us a little bit about the research you've been conducting with the United States Agricultural Department?
Sure.
With the clean water.
So the project that I was brought down to Clemson for is called Clean Water 3, and where the 3 stands for 3 R's. Instead of reduce, reuse, recycle, it's reduce, remediate, and reuse. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to help ornamental growers or specialty crops in general, which is pretty much everything outside of just general rural agriculture is called specialty crops. So we're trying to help them do a better job of managing their water that's leaving their operation so they can clean it up so that it has less environmental impact, or ideally they would be reusing it at their operation or recycling it within their operations.
Why didn't you go into like any academia? Like you're just not pulled to the teaching career at all?
Oh, no, I actually do enjoy teaching, but this position was 100% research. It was funded through the grant, and so basically it was focused on making sure that the grant got completed. Yeah. So that's why it's 100% research. I mean, most people at the university will have some sort of a split, but because I was brought on USDA funding, they could basically say, okay, well, you're just doing work on this project, so you're 100% research.
So you mentioned that previously one of the main goals of the project was to get farmers and stakeholders and agricultural facilities to reuse that water. Mm-hmm. Can you explain why some of these facilities and individuals be hesitant to do so?
Right. So the main reason why growers are reluctant to reuse their water is they're concerned about moving pathogens, which are plant diseases, as well as agrochemicals, things like pesticides. They don't want to move from one place where they apply it to another place that they didn't necessarily apply it. The poinsettia is that everybody loves at Christmas time, right? So they're supposed to be like, 5 or 6 feet tall, but with the plant growth regulators, we keep them shorter, which means that they have shorter spaces between their leaves, so shorter internodes. And that's all controlled with plant growth regulated. So if they're applying this water to plants that they want to grow faster, not slower, they can actually slow their plants down. So that's a concern, as well as the plant diseases.
I think one question I had was, how did you get involved in this project that is actually being funded by the USDA?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of people don't really understand what it takes to get a grant. So there's a lot of stuff on the back end. I was pulled onto this team by Dr. Sarah White, who's also at Clemson. So she was kind of the overall person that was in charge of the grant, visioning it and writing it and everything like that. And so that's kind of how I got involved with Dr. White. And then, as we kind of moved forward with the project, we had gotten a planning grant, which is basically a smaller grant to kind of see, okay, well, this is where we want to focus our efforts. And then that turned into the full grant proposal. That was the 5-year project that I was working on now.
So growing up, was there a particular experience you had or influencer that helped you decide your career path?
When I was in 4th grade.
That's great, starting young.
We did this project at school where we brought in like an old glass jar and some trash from our home. And we basically put it inside, put the trash and we had some dirt and we put it in there, and then we left it there for 2 months or whatever it was. Yeah. And then I'm like, this stuff is still there, even newspaper. And so it really got me thinking about, kind of the impacts of what we do have on our environment. That was kind of the first thing that I really remember being like, man, we really do have an impact on our environment.
Mm-hmm. So right now you're working with the USDA.
Mm-hmm.
Between your PhD, your doctorate, and now, did you work for any other departments or organizations or do any other projects?
So I was a postdoctoral researcher at the University of Maryland after I finished my PhD. So I basically went from my PhD work, which was working with the ornamental growers, and then the next project that I worked on was actually also really interesting. It was another SCRI 5-year major project, but this one was looking at developing irrigation monitoring and control for ornamental production, that we were able to cut water usage between 30 and 70%.
Oh, wow.
Grow better quality plants, and also a lot of times reduce the amount of time it took to grow the plants.
So how would one become involved in higher research with the United States Department of Agriculture?
Typically, the way that one would go about doing that is obviously having an interest in it is important.
Yeah.
But working through undergrad, as undergrads, especially here at a large university like Clemson, you guys have a lot of opportunities to get your feet wet with research. You're not going to start off doing, cutting edge research on your own, but you'll be involved with, and I would recommend you do this, is that, you get involved with a professor that's doing research that you're interested in. And, basically just start understanding what research is about, because you can learn about research all that you want. And this is a great place to do that. But actually doing the research and saying, okay, well, these are the next steps. This is what information that we found out. This is what we need to collect, and then going through the scientific process. That's basically research is following the scientific process over and over again. So basically, after you as an undergrad and then working on master's and PhD level research, as you kind of move up in that, you're going to be doing more and more stuff on your own. You'll be having more and more responsibilities, and that's how you would kind of really get an understanding of, do I like doing research? And this is something where I think that I could have a career in it.
Time. Okay, what is your favorite plant?
There's so many to choose from. The Dawn Redwood. It's one of our, it's an evergreen, or it's a conifer that loses its leaves. So it's just very unique in that respect, and it's also just a really awesome tree.
Thank you so much for your time and interviewing with us. We really do appreciate this
My pleasure.
so much. So awesome. Alrighty.
Second part of the video, our group decided to focus on an environmental scientist position for environmental permitting consultants in Greenville, South Carolina. This is an entry-level full-time job. The pay ranges from $80,000 to $153,000 a year, and the industry is scientific research. Since it's very important to do research and look into what place you're going to be working for, attached is the Environmental Permitting Consultants webpage with their About page and contact information listed. The job description for the environmental scientist position goes into detail on the field work and the office work. Field work is going to deal with stream and wetland delineation, and this is going to include identifying plant species, assessing soil samples, and assessing hydrology indicators. Office work is going to be about projects, writing reports, and remote data gathering. You'll need a BA or BS in biology, environmental science, natural resources, or other related degrees. I hope everybody's been going to FIKE because physical endurance is necessary for this job. You need a clear understanding of topo, aerial, and soil maps, excellent writing and communication skills, and the ability to organize multiple projects simultaneously. Bonuses include experience with auto CAD and GPS. Working for an environmental firm, it's going to be important to have a grasp of environmental law and policy. Most of the forestry classes listed here involve GIS and GPS use. The FNR and ENR classes are all related to the stream and wetland delineation. WFB 4620 is also going to be helpful in fieldwork, and scientific writing and communication is going to be super helpful when writing reports. There are tons of Clemson organizations that can help you land this job. There are clubs you can relate back to natural resources, there are professional clubs, there are clubs related to water issues, and there are clubs related to sustainability issues. Be sure to utilize Clemson Center for Career and Professional Development. They have mentor programs and they can help you with your resume. It's also really important to make connections with professors and individuals in your designated field of work, as you could be interacting with them in the future, or they could be writing you letters of recommendation. Lastly, try to apply for internships and join in relevant CIs during the school year to gain experience and to help build your resume.